ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Insight. I'm John Gray, and this is the show we do to give you insight on things that are happening around town and around the area. And today I'm very proud to have our city planning director, Mary Samaniego, on with us. And we're going to talk a little bit or a whole lot about the planning situation in Tullahoma and the fact that we did have a 2-year study and a research project called the 2040 plan that was put together that was turned down. And then we have gone back to the 2011 plan that was in place, and we have put together, the aldermen have put together a board or a committee, that will try to put both of these things together, possibly.
Yes.
And what Mary's going to do is it's very confusing what's going on. We have a need for housing right now, and we have a need for some buildings to be built, but we don't have the codes to go through to make that happen unless they happen to be something that's out of the 2011.
Correct.
Because these plans haven't been blended yet.
That's correct.
And that's what Mary's here to explain to us, and maybe answer some of the questions that we all have. I know I have some, and I'm sure most of you do as well. And Mary, we want to thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Taking time out of your day. And what we'll do right now is we'll take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back and talk about planning in Tullahoma.
We teach Parkinson's patients how to move big and not let the Parkinson's slow them down. I've had patients I've treated in-house that could not even stand up, could not roll over in the bed, left the facility walking with a walker, have come back to us in outpatient and continued their big program and are now completely, handling life. The success of the program is just phenomenal.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
For many senior citizens, life looks like this, but it doesn't have to. When you make your home at Parkview Senior Living, life after retirement takes on a whole new meaning. Daily exercise options, fun outings, happy hour, game nights, movies and popcorn, arts and crafts, enjoying friends over chef-prepared meals. Parkview Senior Living, where you're always home, but you're never home alone.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Okay, we're back with Mary Samaniego, our planning director here in Tullahoma. And Mary, the conversation is, we had a 2040 plan that we took 2 years and meetings after meeting after meeting after meeting that our city board decided was not valid. And so they transferred us back to the 2011, and then there was a committee picked. And the committee was picked, each alderman got to pick a person to represent them on this committee.
Right.
And the committee's job is to explain to us, number one, what the committee's job is to do.
Okay.
And then how it's progressing and what's going on with this, because we do need some resolution to get some houses and some new properties developed.
Right. So the committee that was appointed by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen is called the Comprehensive Plan Development Committee. They have two main tasks. One is a short-term task, and one is a long-term task. The short-term task is to revise the existing 2011 plan. As you said, John, we're currently operating, that's our effective plan that's been adopted, the 2011 plan. Their short-term goal is to, or task rather, is to revise that 2011 plan to more closely reflect kind of the existing development pattern of the city with the associated map. There were a few things in the existing 2011 plan that just kind of were inconsistent or didn't really make sense for Tullahoma. As an example that I always use, in the text of the 2011 plan, there's a policy objective that says discourage strip commercial development except for on North Jackson. So that's saying they don't want only commercial development should be on North Jackson. But then when you look at the associated future land use map for the 2011 plan, it shows commercial all over the place on Carroll, Highway 55, South Jackson, Anderson. So as that's one example of kind of the inconsistency.
Right.
In the 2011 plan, you've got the text saying one thing and the map showing something else. So this committee kind of is trying to rectify those issues, and then again, updating that future land use map to more closely reflect the existing development pattern of Tullahoma, as opposed to trying to change large areas of town to new uses. As an example, in the 2011 plan, areas of residential development, neighborhoods that have been in existence 30, 40, 50, 60 years, in the 2011 plan were slated to be converted over to commercial or industrial uses. Since 2011, it's obviously been 12 years, and those activities haven't taken place. We haven't seen commercial industrial developers coming in and buying out houses to build new stores and restaurants and factories.
Right.
So that strategy didn't seem to work in Tullahoma,
Right.
which is fine. So now the new strategy is to recognize the existing development pattern to make sure that properties are, the existing use is properly zoned. So if you're a house, you're actually zoned as for a single family house, so people can continue to upgrade and rebuild those properties. And then for vacant properties, the future land use map in the revised 2011 plan designations kind of match what's next to it. So if there's a vacant property and all around it is industrial uses, we made that industrial future land use designation. If it's in a established single family neighborhoods, we made the vacant properties and the farms in those areas single family residential.
Now, what does that do with, I look back at old Tullahoma, and everybody's saying save Tullahoma, they have these save Tullahoma signs. Mm-hmm. Well, old Tullahoma mm-hmm. is what should have been saved, mm-hmm. not current Tullahoma.
Right.
Old Tullahoma, if you drive around old Tullahoma, mm-hmm. we did it right. There's sidewalks on every street.
Right.
And there were neighborhood stores. Uh-huh. You could go within walking distance because people walked. They didn't have 4 cars in the driveway, right. and they didn't have anywhere to go.
Right.
They ate dinner at home.
Right.
And so we did it right back in the 40s and 50s, and then
right.
we became a neighborhood suburb nation. With the development
exactly.
of an affordable automobile.
Exactly.
And then is when everything sort of went awry.
Sort of.
But now we need to go back to, people, and like I said at the Planning Commission meeting, our children, we want our children to move back to Tullahoma. Mm-hmm. They don't want to live in your ranch-style house mm-hmm. on your acre and a half lot and mow all of that. Mm-hmm. That's not what they want.
Right.
So we need to have an opportunity, if the people surrounding or around an area don't care, which mm-hmm. I don't know why they would care, mm-hmm. to put some sixplexes or right. different things where these folks can live as they're living now in the city. Right. Or do we want to be a city? No, but we can do this in a way. People want condos. Older people
right.
want condos.
Right.
Younger people want condos.
Right.
We just need to make sure there's places that kind of stuff can happen. and not in a rundown area. I mean, just like I said, just because it's small doesn't mean it's trash.
Right.
You know,
yes.
you can build a very lovely small place
By choice.
by choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said that about how old Tullahoma used to be developed. That's just, and how over time it changed as the nation changed to more
Right.
suburban character. That's just the evolution of how development occurs.
Right.
And it's it's common, in my opinion, for people to kind of feel nostalgic, be like, oh, it would be nice if things were the way they used to be. It'd be nice if we still had mom and pop grocery stores that, like the neighborhood stores that perhaps people grew up with. But over time, things changed.
Right.
Just development patterns. The automobile came into place, and so more people they didn't want to walk to the local store. They wanted to drive, and so that was kind of the development pattern that happened throughout the country, including Tullahoma in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And now, further to that, now you've got younger people that kind of want to go back to that older concept in general. Again, I can't stereotype for all younger people.
No, you can't.
But in general, they do want to live close to recreational uses, stores, offices. They want those mixed-use projects that were something that was discussed in the 2040 plan. They like the idea of living in apartments and townhomes with a store close by, that they like walking again.
Right.
They like riding a bike again. So the idea is that just because there was a certain development pattern perhaps in a certain era, doesn't mean that it's always continually changing. And people's desires for what makes up as the elements that make up a small town continue to change and evolve.
Right, right.
And you kind of either have to go with that evolution, or you get left behind.
Well,
And it's not necessarily, John, one or the other either.
No, it's not.
I mean, we can still have kind of suburban-based residential development where you drive into town, you do your shopping, but then you can also have some mixed-use projects or condos, apartments closer to downtown. So you can kind of have the best of both worlds. It's not like an either or an or. It's not either or, right.
You know, and I know Frankie Ricks, who is a Tullahoma kid, who is a member of Lenny Ricks Kiss, is one of the largest developers in the state out of Memphis. He's the architect. And as you come into Nashville on Nolensville Road on the right-hand side, 2 miles from Old Hickory maybe, there's their development there.
Yeah.
And it's everything from a pizza to hairstylists to whatever you want on the first floor.
Yep, and then apartments
And
above
then
it.
apartments up above, and then in the back, apartment buildings or condo buildings, 4 foot wide 3 foot, 4 foot wide sidewalks, beautiful hanging plants, people with baby buggies, and they're walking because everything they need is right there.
Right.
And that's how they want to live.
Right.
You know, we need to make some areas available for stuff like that because you want your kids to come home. That's what they want to come home to.
Right.
A lot of them don't even own cars.
Right.
Don't want a car.
My son doesn't own a car. He's almost 22 years old.
Yeah, they don't want a car. Walk.
Yeah, they want to walk. They want to ride their bikes. They want accessibility.
Public transportation.
Right. Well, right. But
You know.
yeah, that's kind of the younger generation in general thought. They don't necessarily want large lots or can afford it anymore.
No.
Again, you got to remember that the economy of the country's changed too. I was talking to some folks about a lot of the older generation was able to get out of college and buy a house right away.
No.
You can't really do that anymore.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you have to rent for quite a while before you can even get your starter house.
Right, right. And so what we'll do right now is we'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back and continue on with Mary Samaniego.
Parkview Senior Living, active, independent senior living at its finest.
We teach Parkinson's patients how to move big and not let the Parkinson's slow them down. I've had patients I've treated in-house that could not even stand up, could not roll over in the bed, left the facility walking with a walker, have come back to us in outpatient and continued their big program and are now completely, handling life. The success of the program is just phenomenal.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and I'm proud to have Mary Samaniego with us here today, our city planner. And we're just trying to figure out how we can navigate all the things that are going on around us and get planning and codes together to where we can, listen, if you don't want people to come to Tullahoma, I'm sorry, they're coming. Whether you like it or not, you can't stop the train. But you can be prepared for it. And that's what we're trying to do, is be prepared.
Right.
For not just me or the folks who live here right now, because we changed it from what it was before.
Right.
The next
Exactly.
group's going to change it from what we have.
Right.
But it's still going to be a wonderful place to be, and we need to make sure that we preserve
Correct.
what makes Tullahoma a top 26 town in the United States of America.
Yeah.
And it's not what our new people have done. All of that was accomplished. You don't achieve that in 2 or 3 years of
Right.
board, of changing a city board.
Right.
That's achieved over years and years and
decades.
years of hard work
Right.
by people, just by greeting somebody when they walk into the town. And we need to make sure we're still able to do that.
Right.
And what do you think about my issue? Of course, we've got the federal government getting ready to spend a bunch of money out at Arnold Center.
Yeah.
And that's going to bring people in here for jobs. We've got the governor who's buying a mega site on the other side of Manchester in Coffee County, who's going to bring 4,000 to 8,000 jobs when that happens.
Huge.
We don't have anywhere for anybody to live right now. And what's going to happen in my mind, we have all these wonderful stores are showing up here. We're not going to zone anything. Everybody's going to start building in Manchester, Coffee County. That's where everybody's going to be living. And when they start living there, these stores aren't going to come here anymore. They're going to go over there.
Right.
And all of a sudden, your property taxes are going to go high because you hadn't allowed anybody to build anything here, possibly.
Right.
So where do we go? This committee that you have, you said that that you thought they were doing a very reasonable job in what they're doing. Explain a little bit about what's happening there and how we're progressing.
And then earlier when I was speaking, I said there was a short-term task for this committee and a long-term.
Right.
The long-term, so the revised 2011 plan, once it's hopefully adopted, should only be in effect, say, a couple years. In that 2-year period, this Comprehensive Plan Development Committee will be working on a new long-range 20-year plan. The thought is that they would use some of the elements from the 2040 plan, possibly, as a jumping off point for this new 20-year plan. But yeah, there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed. Like you said, growth is definitely coming. It just depends on the city if they want to grow, how much they want to grow. There's certainly things that could occur if they don't want to grow. But the potential for growth is definitely coming with the activities at AEDC but the potential for that large mega site. So it's a policy decision that really the city needs to make, is if they want to kind of embrace that potential growth or not.
Well, and I hear that this is, people just want this to be a retirement town. I don't think that's true.
I don't think that necessarily true. I don't think that Tullahoma, in my experience, doesn't have one voice. I'll say it like that.
Very well put.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a consistent voice in Tullahoma, which is fine, and that happens in some small towns. There's a lot of different kind of groups of people and a lot of different ideas and a lot of kind of differing ideas of what they would like the city to look like. But I think that differing views doesn't necessarily have to create divisiveness, that the differing views can be all brought to the table, and I do think that there are solutions that can please everybody. I've seen it. It's not necessarily like I'm not being like a Pollyanna.
No, you can't. You can't.
No, I'm very much a realist, and I've seen it happen, and I have ideas of people have brought me. I can see all the issues, I can see all the problems, and I think that I and this committee has had discussions about solutions that might, if not please everybody, at least appease everyone.
Well, and everybody, can't.
And we can move forward.
We can move forward, but and everybody can say, yeah, we need that, yeah. But everybody can't say, not in my backyard.
Right.
Somebody's backyard is going to have to see some change in.
Well, and it's occurring now. I mean, development has not stopped in Tullahoma because the 2040 plan didn't get adopted. People still have the rights to develop their property. The zoning is still in place. The 2011 plan is still in place. We're still seeing subdivisions coming in. We're still seeing new houses being built, commercial developments occurring. So things are still developing here.
What about? I know at one point there was a little push, maybe even more than a little push, a big push on Anderson Street. That there was going to be development down Anderson Street to try to turn that into more of an entrance to downtown Tullahoma. Is that action still sort of have any traction?
Yeah. I applied for a grant through the Tennessee Department of Transportation for a multimodal grant, they call it, or a transportation alternative grant. That the city was awarded that grant, so we got it.
Good for you.
Thank you. So we were awarded that grant. We're working through TDOT now to get the contract drawn up. There's whenever you have a project with TDOT and there's federal money involved, there's a lot of hoops.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of hoops. So we've been working for about 6 months now, trying to get the contract drafted and get all the T's crossed and I's dotted. But ultimately, that grant, it's an 80-20 match, so the TDOT would pay for 80% of the construction, and Tullahoma would have to pay for 20% of the construction plus the engineering fees. But that project would be to Anderson Street from Carroll to Lincoln. One side would be sidewalk with the landscape buffer, and then the other side would be a multi-use like biking and pedestrian trail through there. And then because we'd be doing new sidewalks and multi-use trails, we'd be reestablishing curb and gutter, grass strips.
Right.
So that would kind of give a new look to a lot of those buildings along that front there.
That's wonderful.
So as you're coming down Carroll from 24, you go through Manchester, you're coming towards Tullahoma, you can get to downtown by taking a right at the light on Anderson, then go through Anderson down this nice new corridor that we have, take a left onto Lincoln, and then go downtown that way.
And then ultimately at some point, would that continue on, that type thing to continue on Lincoln?
There hasn't been discussion about that. Really, we're just looking at this first phase. There was discussion about that look continuing on to the other side of Anderson, on the other side of Carroll, going towards the base.
Oh.
Because there's where the bowling alley is.
Right.
And the car dealerships, and there's a house. Kind of that corridor could get improved as well. So everybody coming from TAEDC in the base as they come around the curve and come into town, they start seeing a new streetscape.
Okay. Mary Samaniego, we're about out of time. Folks, this lady right here, go back to that double shot. This lady right here is absolutely on point, and she's one of the sharpest people I've met in quite some time. Pay attention to what she has to say, because she is working for us. She's not working for any individual or anything other than the good of Tullahoma, and doing it in the legal, proper way. And if she tells you that's the way it is, it's not because it's her concept, it's because it's the law.
Correct.
Thanks for being with us, dear. And you know you're always welcome.
Yeah.
And don't you go anywhere. You hang around.
No, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm not going
girl.
anywhere.
Thank you very much. Folks, thanks for watching Insight. Tell your friends. We'll be back next time. And hey, Kenny Banks, thanks for this sign back here at Signorama. Certainly do appreciate it, my friend. We'll see you then.